Hi, I am Chasten Evans, Vice President of the Fandom Club, and I would like to give a presentation on my thoughts on the future of the Marvel Universe. Okay, so the Marvel Universe started in the Marvel Cinematic Universe started in 2008. Wow. And has since then captured the hearts of everybody around the world with by introducing characters that will become household names. I mean, some of these characters were already household names, uh, but it magnified their status over over the nearly 2 decades that it's been around. So it started with Phase 1 in 2008 with Iron Man, which who was played by Robert Downey Jr., which made him the de facto leader of the Avengers. I mean, other than, his money, which made him, able to, afford the Avengers building being built and all of the cool weapons that everyone gets. Um, in Phase 1, and there was also the introduction of all the characters that we, come to know and love, like the Incredible Hulk, uh, Thor, Captain America, and Black Widow, which led to Marvel's The Avengers in 2012, which ended Phase 1. Then Phase 2 started with Iron Man 3, which was another iconic movie uh, in 2013. Um, Also introducing a bunch of side characters who would end up becoming, beloved as well. Uh, we get introduced to the Falcon, we get introduced to the Guardians of the Galaxy, and we also get introduced to Ant-Man in uh, Phase 2. Yeah, we all love Groot. He's our one of our favorites. Gamora is personally my favorite from the Guardians of the Galaxy. And with Ant-Man, Phase 2 ends in 2015. Phase 3 starts with Captain America Civil War in 2016, which, you know, is a cool fight, and like a cool introduction to the conflicts of the Avengers, the conflicts between Iron Man and Captain America, which give their characters a lot of depth, and also, you know, uh, was a cool way to introduce Wakanda and Black Panther. Uh, R.I.P. to Chadwick Boseman. You know, it was really sad that, his, like, to hear about his passing, but he contributed a lot to not only the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but uh, cinema in general. So that's great that he did that and that he got to contribute that much to, the world and the happiness of a lot of people. But Phase 3 also was the introduction of Doctor Strange. Uh, the like the further introduction of Spider-Man, uh, and Black Panther. Phase 3 also ended uh, a lot of stories. You know, it concluded a lot of story arcs, like the story arc of Captain America and the story arc of Iron Man and uh, and you know the story arc of Thanos, and you know with Avengers Endgame, and then Spider-Man Far From Home, which Spider-Man Far From Home was basically like the prologue of Phase 3, which is the introduction of Phase 4, which should have started with you know Black Widow, but there are you know a few extenuating circumstances with Corona, so that Phase 4 will start a little later. But so with the end of Phase 3 and the beginning of Phase 4, we are introduced to a new concept: Disney Plus plus the MCU, which it brings all of our beloved characters to the small screen and expands on their stories, and also introduces new characters, which people who have read the comics already know and love, but we'll introduce these characters to people who read comics more casually, or people who don't really know a lot about superheroes, but are, you know, intrigued by the stories. So there'll be retellings of stories, and of course, you know, there'll be expansions on stories that weren't as told in the MCU, and also, you know, the the switching up and changing up of different, you know, stories to make them more fresh and applicable to the small screen, which is very exciting. So here is a timeline of these shows and movies, you know, corresponding with each other. It's supposed to start with Black Widow. Of course, all of this has changed since, you know, the coronavirus attacked our lives. And so, it should have started with Black Widow, then go to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, The Eternals, WandaVision, Shang-Chi, then Loki, then Spider-Man Homeless. I see what they did there. The What If series, which seems very cool. I'll talk more about that later. Uh, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which sounds insane. And Hawkeye, which also sounds very exciting. Thor, Love and Thunder. I wonder what that title is about. Excited to, I guess if Thor, might get, you know, another romantic interest, and Black Panther 2, and Captain Marvel 2. So first I wanted to talk about, you know, who says save the best for last, because we're gonna save the best for first, because this is the one I'm most excited about. This WandaVision. This show takes a look into the mind of Wanda Maximoff, aka Scarlet Witch, played by Elizabeth Olsen, as she mourns the loss of the Vision, played by Paul Bettany. And it basically is gonna be the showcase, I hope, of her powers. Um, I'm really excited. Um, it is said to be a mix between the Marvel cinematography that, we all have come to be used to, all come to love, mixed with a sitcom twist. So your 50s sitcoms and your 60s sitcoms and 70s sitcoms and 80s sitcoms, to which I'm assuming is reflecting a Scarlet Witch's, you know, longing for, a normal life and the warmth and love that she felt with Vision, which is cool because us as viewers see him as, a beep boop, a robot. So this show, I feel, is gonna show us why she really loved Vision, give us more of that romance that we didn't see on the big screen, except expand on it on the small screen, as I said in, the previous slide. Basically giving us more depth into the love that they share, which is, which I feel is going to be very sweet and very endearing and also pretty scary because it's basically Wanda, kind of like losing her mind and having a breakdown because she's really sad. So that's going to be sad. So, will this show Scarlet Witch as being the most powerful magic user in the MCU, along with laying the foundation for new characters and new stories? Which leads me to the conversation of the introduction of Monica Rambeau and the Young Avengers. Two characters, well, three characters are are introduced in the trailers for WandaVision that allude to the introduction of these stories. So, first we'll talk about Monica Rambeau because she was introduced first in Captain Marvel's movie in 2018 after Infinity War, which was a very bleak ending and ended with us seeing Captain Marvel being called by Nick Fury to help out the Avengers, which lost to Thanos at the end of that movie. In Captain Marvel's movie, we look back to Captain Marvel being reintroduced to Earth, where she finds out that after living on an alien planet for years, that she is actually from Earth, and she actually had a life on Earth, and in that life, she basically was like an aunt to Monica Rambeau, and that's really sweet, very interesting. Way to introduce Monica to the story. In that time, in the Captain Marvel movie, Monica was a little girl, and now in WandaVision, she will be introduced as an adult. So we will have we will be able to see her as a complex character. We're gonna be able to see her, you know, as she matures and see if she still, has that familial relationship with Captain Marvel, which would be really, really cool to see a relationship that spanned that long of a period, you know, be depicted in the modern day Marvel universe, Marvel Cinematic Universe. And with that, there's also the introduction of two characters, Wiccan and Speed, which are uh, Wanda's children, basically, in the comics. And we're going to be introduced to them basically as her and Vision's children, which is going to be very. I wonder how they're going to, twist this and, show us that, that story. So, with Wiccan and Speed, you have to ask the question, where are the Young Avengers? Which, are a group of teens who take on the mantle of older superheroes. So, with that, it's gonna lead you to ask the question, who will be introduced in the new Hawkeye series, which would be, a young hero taking up the Hawkeye mantle. So this will all be very, very interesting. Uh, Hopefully on the Discord we can talk, and if anybody has any, inquiries about or any theories about how these things will be introduced, if these things will be introduced at all, or who you even think would be good fits for the characters, we could have a chat on Discord. This also leads me to the show The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Okay, this is where we learn more about the elusive past of Sam Wilson, aka the Falcon, played by Anthony Mackie, and Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier, played by Sebastian Stan. Uh, these are two major characters introduced in Phase 2, and characters everyone came to love and adore throughout the movies, and really cool friends to Captain America. Hopefully, in the show, we'll get to see Sam Wilson becoming the new Captain America. As we saw at the end of Endgame, if you saw Endgame, spoiler alert, by the way. If you saw Endgame, you saw that Steve Rogers gave Sam Wilson the Captain American mantle after he went to the past and lived his 1960s life with Peggy Carter, Lana Del Rey style, and you know, Sam Wilson will be the new Captain America, hopefully, and we'll see him take on the challenges that come with that mantle, and expand that, that legacy. And hopefully we'll learn more about Bucky's past, see if if just because he stayed in the past doesn't mean that his problem stayed in the past. Will things catch up in a weird way like they did to Captain America? And will we see anybody else pay the consequences for Bucky's actions, if there is any actions? He racked up a kill count as a Hydra agent, so I'm assuming you know, he made some enemies, as we saw in Civil War, with Tony Stark, and the death of Tony Stark's father. Did Bucky kill anybody else that may have been important to anybody else's life? So that'd be great to see too in that show. Next up, we have She-Hulk. Um, a very highly anticipated series, like a very um, highly anticipated character. Now there's gonna be more than one Hulk in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, thanks to Jennifer Walters. She is Bruce Banner's cousin, and She-Hulk is her title. And her series She-Hulk will be debuting on Disney Plus along with the other superhero shows, the other Marvel Cinematic shows that we have seen so far in this presentation. I really hope her story tackles the balance between a woman who is working and her identity. I think She-Hulk will be a cool character to display, a powerful woman working, but also combating her sense of, or working through her sense of self. So that She-Hulk has always been an interesting character in the comics. She's had a very interesting history, a very cheesecakey history, if at the start, but growing and changing as the people lean more into the lawyer aspect of her character, and you're gonna learn more about her as a lawyer and as a superhero, and her balance between those two identities, in hopes that the show will take a little bit of a feminist turn, or at least show a strong female character. I also hope that this will be the first of many strong female characters, such as the introduction of Spider-Woman, and showing a relationship between her, Spider-Woman, She-Hulk, and Captain Marvel, who have all been shown to interact in the comics and get along, or have acquaintanceship at least. There's also the question of if there will be any other radiation afflicted superheroes introduced in the story of Walters of She-Hulk, such as the Fantastic Four. Next, we have Loki, which everyone is really excited about. This show will be tackling the question of where did Loki go when he took the Space Stone in Endgame, because he took the Space Stone from Tony Stark and Thor and Ant-Man when they were all trying to get the Space Stone to save everyone from being snapped away. And of course, the god of mischief, Loki, took the opportunity to steal the Space Stone while everybody was distracted, which is hilarious. And Loki will be played by everyone's favorite, Tom Hiddleston, one of the Marvel Cinematic Universe's many British actors. So with Loki's show, this will be one of the events that leads into the story of Doctor Strange and the continuation of the multiverse, hopefully. I hope. this will lead into Doctor Strange's new movie, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Uh, and this will uh, beg the question, will the multiverse actually be introduced, or will it be like teased as it was in Spider-Man Far From Home when Mysterio pretended that there was a multiverse when there wasn't? But will this actually be the introduction of the multiverse? Let's see. There's also the show Moon Knight. I am excited about this show because Kevin Feige sold me on the show with the tagline, "Is the Moon Knight actually blessed by the Egyptian god Khonshu, or is it all in his head?" Which I feel will be a segue into the topic of, are superheroes actually superheroes because other people see them that way, or, you know, are they superheroes because they see themselves that way? Which is a question I often ask when I ponder on what I would be as a superhero, which I'm sure everybody who watches these movies has, hopefully, or I might just be embarrassing myself. and, and um, it's a cool look into a different kind of superhero. I feel Moon Knight is not, he's well known, but not like the most popular superhero ever. And people kind of, I feel that people kind of see him more as another Batman type, Batman-esque character. So I'd like to see them really make this character stand alone and stand out among superheroes. And this leads me into, you know, the question of other superheroes that I would like to be, you know, depicted. Obviously, the Eternals are a group that will show up. We don't know when the filming is going to happen, but hopefully it will happen soon. Um, and then Wolverine and Blade, I hope, will be introduced. Not that these characters really correspond, or like really have much to do with each other. I mean, they do, all comic book characters do, but the introduction of Blade and Wolverine as these came to mind because Moon Knight is this, you know, dark, mysterious. I feel he could be, you know, they could take this show in a more violent area, and will that lead to the introduction of Wolverine and Blade, who are both very violent characters, but characters everyone loves nonetheless. Now, we have to talk about not Captain, Miss Marvel. uh, Miss Marvel series will be the introduction of Camilla Khan, which is a very, very popular character, a more recent character as well. Uh, and she is an Inhuman and a mega fan of the Avengers, which will be really, really cute to see depicted in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Um, Recently, there was an Avengers game that I did not get that came out that uh, depicted Miss Marvel, and I see some clips from that, and I'm just like, oh, cool. I hope the character is, you know, is as excited as this to see the Avengers, because that's actually how I would be if I got to meet the the Avengers. With that, I'd like to, you know, pose the question of if there's gonna be, you know, an Outlaws or a Secret Invasion or a Civil War 2, which features Captain Marvel. And all of these events are very, very, entangled in the things we already have seen so far in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Obviously, Kevin Feige changed these stories up, which I enjoy, and gave these stories a new twist. And it will be very, very interesting and fun to see any twist that he made with these stories, and if he has any other crazy ideas. And I'd love to see Camilla, turn from a super fan to really putting that phrase, you know, to work. You shouldn't meet your, uh, you shouldn't meet the people that you're fans of. Like, will Kamala end up not liking Captain Marvel? Or will she see her as different, or see her as more flawed, or see all superheroes as more flawed? That's a character development that I'd like to see personally. You know, and really help us see that having superpowers may not be that easy. There's also a new show called What If. What If will introduce a ton of stories and alternate universes that we haven't seen before, which is very interesting. Some things that I'd like to see are Marvel zombies. I'd like to see zombies. Of course, me and Blake would love to see that. Blake Akachek, the president of Fandom Club. And the Kree and the Skrull War. Uh, I like to see those people duke it out again, or see if they'll ever reconcile their differences. Uh, I'd like to see alternate stories of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Basically, we're already experiencing an alternate story with the death, then time travel kind of revival of Gamora. So technically we're already kind of seeing an alternate universe. So that would be, very interesting to see. I'd also like to see, more animation, because What If will be an animated series, which is really interesting and something I didn't think they'd dive back into, but it will be very cool to see. And it's kind of reminiscent of Love, Death, and Robots. If anybody has seen that on Netflix, it kind of reminds me of that. And if they do like little short stories like Love, Death, and Robots, I'd really, really, really love to see that, except with Marvel superheroes and, the different kind of alternate universes that the superheroes could be caught up in. Like, we saw a Captain America Peggy Carter, which is very, very interesting to me. And it's, let's see if she avoids getting, caught in an iceberg or, Aang style. But, there's also, you know, with the recent passing of Chadwick Boseman, there's also the question of the future of Wakanda. Uh, if they'll go through with introducing Storm, uh, or if Shuri will become Black Panther. These are all very interesting questions that I'm sure Phase 4 and Phase 5 after will answer, which all seem very, very far away, but maybe like the past 3 phases, this will pass just as quickly. So let's see what Marvel has in store. And this is the end of my presentation. The MCU will eventually continue. So with that, anybody in the Fandom Club Discord can message. We can have a cool conversation with each other about, if we have any ideas for the Marvel Universe, what we think will happen, what we think won't happen, who we think will play certain characters, and what we think Feige has up his sleeve next. Thank you, everyone, and Fandom Club President out.